Hey, friend, it is Brandon Gustafson with Assisted Living Investing. Excited to have you here with me on the channel today. Today, we're going to be getting into unlocking some of the secrets of serving a diverse population in assisted living. I get this question all the time around, hey, who can I serve here? Who are the types of populations that I can serve? Could I mix people up? And I really wanted to dive into that topic for you today to help you understand exactly what you're getting into as you start working in this and start wanting to make some progress. You have probably been looking at assisted living. You're thinking to yourself, like, this is a really cool thing. I can give back to a lot of people, but you're just not sure, like, could I serve this population? Or what if I want to do something over here with this group? And this is something that I think is really going to help you understand what you're getting into as you get into working with this. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties as well as I get started, so bear with me as I do that. But as we get started, I do want to remind you to go and grab the free business plan checklist. You can get that. We'll have it down in the bottom corner here on the screen for you throughout the video. Go to assistedlivinginvesting.net/BP checklist is where you can get that free business plan checklist. It's really designed to help you build a solid business plan, which is key to building a foundation so that you can get started in and launching your assisted living business. It's one of those key pillars that you're going to need as you're trying to get things going and have some success in what you're trying to do here in serving different populations. So I encourage you to go ahead and grab that. So I'm going to switch my scene here. And so, yeah, we're going to be talking about populations that you can serve in assisted living and what that looks like. And if you're new here, type in newbie. Would love to. I love seeing the new people and who they are and where you're at in your progress, in your journey to launching your assisted living business. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brandon Gustafson. I own and operate 2 assisted living facilities, and I do that out of state. So I live in Utah, and I have one of my facilities in Colorado, and another one is in Utah. So I have been doing this since 2020, so a little over 4 years as of the recording of this video. I have a master's in healthcare administration, so I've worked in the healthcare industry for a long time, and have a lot of experience working for healthcare payers, working with nonprofit organizations. I have a pretty good understanding of the healthcare landscape as a whole and can answer a lot of questions because healthcare can feel overwhelming and confusing for a lot of people. Also, I have secured over 1.5 million dollars in SBA funding, so I'm very familiar with that process. That's why I tell you go grab the business plan checklist because it is one of those key things that you're going to need as you're trying to move forward and launch your assisted living business when it comes to funding and those types of things. So, we will also have time for Q&A here at the end of the video. So if you have questions, type those in. We'll have time to get and answer a few of your questions here as well, and I'm excited to do that. So with that all said, let's talk about our topic for today. I really want to get into the different populations that you can serve. And this list here that I'm showing you, if you're on video here with me, is not a comprehensive list at all. Would love for you to actually tell me, type in your comments down below, which population are you most passionate about serving? Is it one of these, or is it a different one that's not on this list? I think it's important for you to understand that you can serve so many different people. I'm going to go back to kind of the root of assisted living and what it is and what you're going to do, and then we'll get into these populations. So assisted living at its core is helping those individuals who need help with activities of daily living, is what it's called. ADLs is the acronym. So an activity of daily living, if you think about it, it's like getting dressed or putting a hat on with a cool ALI logo on it, or which you can get on YouTube, by the way. It's doing things like brushing your teeth or showering, feeding yourself. Like, these are all things that as high functioning individuals kind of take for granted. But if you know anybody in your circle, your family, friends, whoever it is, as they age, you know that they decline. Sometimes they have a hard time. They have a hard time feeding themselves. Like they'll drool or hard time just chewing food. And so you have to puree the food, or those types of things. So you've got to do that. Making the food can be difficult as well. It could be just like buttons are really hard to do, or you're going to the bathroom and you need help wiping. These are all examples of activities of daily living. So the spectrum of what that can look like and what it entails for individuals that we're going to be talking about here with the different populations that you can serve is so different. It's vastly different. It could be medication. It could just be reminding people to take medications, or making sure they take the appropriate amount of medication for whichever issue that they may be dealing with, mental or physical. Making sure that pain is managed, or those I'm blanking on the word right now, but the some of the mental health issues that somebody could be encountering and dealing with, making sure that they are properly medicated for that. So these are all activities of daily living. A lot of what we do, well, really what we do in assisted living is help out with those. What you're going to see is you have an individual who was able to function on their own. They have now shifted to a period of time where they need some assistance, but they don't need a nurse. They don't need somebody to be in their home all the time. They don't need to be in a nursing home, because they can largely function. They can still, play bingo, play cards, play, go, like we were just doing an activity at our house the other day, where it was like throwing bean bags into a bucket. Like, they can still do those types of things and socialize and have a good time. Those are all really good and fun things to be able to do, but they're still going to need a little bit of help with certain things. So when you think about that's what we do in assisted living. What you're going to realize is there's a lot of different groups that can use that type of help. And so that's what we have up here on the screen for you is these groups. And the one that everybody thinks of, traditional assisted living, when you hear assisted living, you think seniors. And that is very much, I would say, a big portion of the population that are in assisted living are elderly care. Now, I will caution you, that doesn't mean that they're all 80, 85, 90-year-old individuals. We have people that are in our facilities that are there for elderly care reasons, that are in their 60s, like late 60s, even early 60s, in their 70s. So there's not an age requirement that says, hey, you have to be 85 years old before you can use assisted living. Like, not at all. It is very much dependent on your needs, and so you're going to see that a lot. So when people say assisted living and you think to yourself, oh, those are just seniors and it's only 80 to 85 individuals that are that age, not the case. So don't get that confused. You can serve different populations, and just because somebody might need it because of aging does not mean they are that old. They could very well be younger individuals. We actually had somebody in one of our facilities at one point who was like the same age as my dad, in early 60s. And for him, I think that was like a little like eye-opening. My dad and I invest together. And so yeah, that was something that I think for him was just like, wow, this is kind of great. So it doesn't have to be like super old, is what I want to tell you there. Next is physical disabilities. So this could be something like, I don't know, maybe somebody had an arm amputated, or diabetes, they've had a foot or like knee below type of amputation. It could be any other kind of physical disabilities that are out there. Like, there's a number of them. I'm not going to list them off the top of my head because I will make a fool of myself. But there's so many of them. So this could be individuals that have a physical disability. They can't do something for a physical reason, and they need help buttoning their shirt, or getting dressed, or toileting, showering, those types of things. That's something that you could see there. So physical disabilities, and that doesn't matter the age. You could have somebody that needs assisted living that's in their 30s, and they need it because of a physical disability that they have. Intellectual and developmental disabilities. So this could be, I've seen people that do homes that are specific to autism, or Down syndrome, or something along those lines. So that's something that you want to be aware of as well, that there are intellectual and developmental disabilities that could be impacting people's lives, and they need that help, that support, the love that comes, and the care that comes from being in assisted living. So that's another big group of people that you could be working with that needs some help. Autism, I mentioned that. Autism and intellectual and developmental disabilities, I feel like are can be lumped in together, but they are different. But autistic individuals could need assisted living, can need help with that, depending on the severity of the spectrum and where they're at with their family life and benefits that they might have, health insurance benefits, Medicaid, long term care, those types of things. It could definitely, I've seen houses that would work specifically with autism. Next is mental health. This is different from intellectual and developmental disabilities. This is like schizophrenia, bipolar. One of our house in Colorado, deals with this population, and it sounds scary on the surface. Like, I'll be honest, but working with that population, it is so rewarding to see them, to talk with them, to get to know them, get to know their life stories, because a lot of that population, when they are not in our home, they are homeless, or in jail or something along those lines, and it's not anything that they can really control. It is a mental health thing that they are dealing with, and if they are off their meds, they can spiral down, and they need that support, that infrastructure. And it is, oh man, it's so rewarding to spend time with that type of a person and help them out. So mental health is something I'm like super passionate about. I love working with them, and you can build a house that is specifically catered to that population. It's very different from seniors, very different on your staff and the training that you need to do with that population. So those are all things you want to be aware of when you're working with any other type of population. There's a lot that goes into it. We're going to talk about that here in end of the video. TBI, traumatic brain injury. We just did an entire video on this a week or two ago, about how to serve TBI residents in your home and what to be aware of when you're working with that group of individuals, and how it can impact the way that you're treating them and serving them, and how to interact with them, and help them through the trauma that they're experiencing, and be able to still live a life that is functional, and helping them do that. It's what we do in assisted living. We're not there to like take care of them 24. We're there for 24/7 coverage if we need to, but we're not there to babysit them. We're there to help them live a normal life and help them with the little things that they can't do. That's what activities of daily living are, right? Veterans, being able to serve just a home that is specifically catered to veterans, and for those of you that are veterans, thank you so much. But you know that there's a lot that can go into that. It could be mental health, it could be physical disabilities. You could mix this, and that's what we're going to get into here in just a second. Is how you mix these different populations there. And I feel like veterans is a really good kind of litmus test to show you that you can do this with multiple different populations. Just because if you look at veterans as a whole, they deal with a lot of they deal with a lot of different issues, and they can be hard to kind of navigate. And so if you're dealing with veterans, unless you want to be like, I want to deal with veterans that are only mental health, you're probably going to be running the gamut of the different types of individuals that are veterans that have different problems inside of your home. Substance abuse is another one. You may have heard of, like, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on what it's called, but substance abuse homes. That's not what it is, but that's another option that you can go to when it comes to kind of assisted living. Is a very different path. They're not licensed. It's a different population. There's less money that comes in, but there's less staffing as well, and so it's definitely something to consider. But those are also opportunities that I feel like kind of fall under this umbrella of individuals that you can serve when it comes to assisted living. So as you can see, like, there's a ton of different groups there. I'd love to hear from you. Like, which of these are you most interested in working with, and why? Like, type that in the comments down below. And if I missed one here that you're super passionate about, type that in as well. Would love to hear from you on that, and what your feelings are with the different populations that you could be serving. Now let's talk a little bit here about different populations in the same home. Like, can you serve different populations in the same home? And the short answer to that is yes, absolutely. But you do need to be intentional and strategic with how you're doing it. So you want to be looking at, are these residents compatible? So if I have a memory care home and I have residents that have dementia, and specifically residents that have dementia that can become physically violent at certain times. And then if I have maybe somebody that's autistic also in that home that may or may not be able to function with other people, and something happens there, that could turn into a little bit of an outbreak. Or if I'm working with veterans and I have somebody that has mental health, and let's say they have schizophrenia, and then I have another veteran over here that has lost his leg. I'm working with a very different set of circumstances here for people. One is going to be a lot more physically demanding for me to care for, while the other one is going to be a lot more mentally stressful for me to work with when they have episodes with their schizophrenia. These are kind of a little bit blown out in proportion, so you can kind of see the difference. But you can serve those different populations. What you want to do, though, is, as I mentioned here, make sure that they are compatible. Make sure that that you, as a staff, can handle that. That you're not going to come across anything when you're bringing a resident in, and you have a dementia patient and you've got somebody else that's autistic. Whichever one was there first, you might want to have a conversation with the family of the one that's coming in, and really do a solid amount of just research on that individual to make sure it's going to be a good fit, because you don't want to bring somebody in that's going to disrupt the culture inside of the house. Okay. You also will potentially need to look at the state regulations, because those could be a barrier in your states. So while I say yes, I would say yes with caveats. You can do this. You can mix populations inside of your home. But if your state says, nope, you are a mental health facility, you cannot allow elderly care residents or residents that are in assisted living for XYZ. I'm not aware of these regulations, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're out there. Um, that you need to adhere to and be compliant with those regulations that exist there. So licensing and state regulations, you just need to be aware of what that is. Talking with the ombudsman, which is an advocate for the residents, can also be a really good resource to help you understand what's appropriate for the residents. Talking with the state licensing and understanding exactly what that's going to look like. You don't, just because I said yes, you can do this, don't take that as, oh, perfect, I'm good. You want to still do the research and do everything that you can to understand how it's going to impact you, and is it going to jeopardize your ability to obtain or maintain your license and continue serving populations. um, Staff training and specialization. So if you're working with a mental health group, and I kind of alluded to this just a few minutes ago, if you're working with a mental health group, um, the the interactions that your staff are going to have with that population are very different. They're very demanding, but it's very a different demanding than somebody that has more physical needs. So my Colorado facility, we don't do a lot of like help with bathing. There's a lot of prompting. Hey, make sure you go take a shower today, or let's set up a plan, because you obviously don't like to shower. You're scared of it. You don't like to feel it on your body. Whatever is happening there. Well, we got to set up a plan, because you do have to shower. You have to keep your body clean. You have to. It's good for your body from a hygienic standpoint. It's not fair to the rest of the staff or the rest of the residents if you don't take a shower. Like, these are the conversations you could be having with a mental health population, whereas with a more physically demanding population, you could be having a conversation like, hey, let's shower, we got you on the schedule, and then you're helping them bathe. So in that scenario, you're in the shower, you're doing the bathing for them, potentially, if they need help with it. Whereas over on the mental health side, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. You're having to do a lot of negotiation and potentially dealing with outbursts from people when they don't want to take a shower. So it's a very different type of a population. You need to make sure you are training your staff on how to handle um, those different scenarios, depending on who's going to be in your facility. So that's something that you definitely want to be doing as you're trying to serve these populations. Also, certain states may have different certifications or trainings or levels of education that staff need to take to be compliant or to be able to serve certain populations. And so that's something else, going back to the licensing and state regulations, you may need to be aware of. Is there a certain type of training I need to do if I'm dealing with a mental health population or an autistic population or anything like that? You want to make sure that you are properly trained on what that's going to look like. The home setup and environment. So, if you're dealing with an elderly population, maybe they're wheelchair bound, you're going to need to make sure that you are ADA compliant. You're going to make sure that you have wheelchair ramps, that you've got railings in appropriate spots, that you have wheelchair accessible sinks and toilets and grab bars and all kinds of things like that. That might be something that you need to do. Whereas you're dealing with a mental health population that is like our home that deals with mental health. A lot of our residents are between like 40 and 60. They're physically active. We have a lot of stairs in that house. They have to be able to do stairs in the home. Like there's different levels of what that's going to look like. So if you want to serve a population, an elderly care population that may decline physically and need to be in a wheelchair, then you need to make sure that your house is set up to accommodate for that. You can't have a 4-story house with a ton of stairs and no elevator. That's just not going to work. And so you need to think about that. This is where coming into it and building the foundation, building a business plan. Again, go get the business plan checklist is to help you do this. It's so important for you to do that because once you have that foundation, you know who you're going to serve. Phase 2 of my 5-phase process is helping you find the right house. So once you've decided, okay, this is what I want to do, this is who I want to serve, this is what the house needs to look like, all of a sudden you've narrowed your search for a facility, one that's existing or a house to convert. You've narrowed that from all of the houses down to this tiny subset of houses that are going to match what you want to do with your facility. So it's an example of why you need to build this foundation before you can just start jumping off and doing all kinds of other things. Next is going to be your policies and procedures. I'm going to go deep into that here in just a second, but in your policies and procedures, you're going to outline that staff interaction that your staff are going to have with the residents, how to handle conflicts, the different safety protocols that you want to have. Those are things that you're going to have to account for when you're writing your policies and procedures, depending on the type of resident that you're going to have. If you're interacting with multiple different types of residents, how are you going to deal with conflict that comes up? What happens if a resident falls? If I have to put, I don't know, grab bars in a certain place, is that going to make it unable for my other residents to use the toilet? I don't. That's not a real example, but it's just like what came off the top of my head. Like if I do something here for this type of resident, how's that going to impact this other type of resident, and is it still safe for both residents? Those types of things is what you really want to be getting into. So let's talk a little bit more about policies and procedures. They're so important as you're trying to move this along and trying to get things through and work with different populations and really get your facility up and running. Policies and procedures are one of the most important things that you can do, and it's how you're going to run your business as well. It really keeps your house running smoothly, helps you avoid liability. It's a requirement for you to get your license, all of those things. So you're going to need to have all of that in place. And it's so important for you to have. Inside of your policies and procedures, you're going to have your admission criteria. So this could say, typically it's a form that they fill out, lets you know their history, their family, contact information, health history, the types of things that they need. You're kind of doing an admission slash assessment of the resident. That's going to be a part of your policies and procedures. You're going to pull it out. That's going to be unique to every single individual, but the template and the information that you're going to be asking for is going to be a part of your policies and procedures. You also, in addition to that, need to have criteria that says, okay, here's the admission paperwork, fill it out. You reviewing it, you're doing your assessment. And if they don't meet that admission criteria for whatever reason, for us in Colorado, there's a lot of stairs. A resident can't do stairs. They're wheelchair bound. They're on a cane. They can't do stairs. That is an admission criteria for us that makes it so we can't allow that specific resident, no matter how good of a cultural fit they would be for our home. If they can't handle the physical the physical stuff that comes with being in that home, then it's just not going to work. So you have to have certain steps, certain criteria for how that's going to work for you. Next is staff training requirements. We talked about this just a second ago, but you need to have written in your policies and procedures what the requirements are for your staff. What type of training do they need to do? What type of certification certifications do they need? Do they need ongoing training and education? If so, how much? What are they going to do there? What internal policies do you have that staff need to sign off on that they have read? Do they need to do that on a regular cadence? Is it a one-time thing? Is it an annual thing? You need to write all of these things out so that when you have your staff coming in, you're training new staff, they know exactly what they need to do and what they need to get educated on. So really important for you to have that. Next is management, behavior management plans. So this is very similar to care plans, but if you're working with a population that deals with behaviors and autism, mental health, intellectual disabilities, you may have behavior management plans for these individuals and how you're going to handle those situations, which is something you want in your policies and procedures, but also written documentation for, okay, Bill over here did something that he wasn't supposed to do, so we're going to track it here. And if it was, you have to track, you have to document absolutely everything in assisted living. So you want to have that behavior management plan. If it was broken, how are you going to address that? What type of conversations do you need to have with other individuals in your care team, their family, case managers, doctors? What types of conversations are you going to have there? That's what is in a behavior management plan, but you need to write that out. What's that going to look like? How are you going to handle those behavior management plans? When are you going to review them? These are all things that you want to have in your policies and procedures, plus the template of what that behavior management plan is going to look like. Next is going to be medical and medication protocols. So you're going to have that. Who's your pharmacy? How are you going to order meds? How are you going to track meds? What are you going to do to dispose of meds as you're doing that? If a resident needs a PRN, which is just like, hey, I need a Tylenol, how are you going to handle those requests? How are you going to document it? You need to have all of those things also lined out so that you know exactly what's going to happen, and then it's documented when medications are given to a resident, why it was given, what happened to the resident. So you need to outline all of these things, and it helps protect you with the work that you're doing, especially if you're working with different populations. You need to make sure everything is absolutely documented. And then the next one is conflict resolution. When conflicts arise, and they will, and they could be shoving matches, or they could just be, little chatty, back and forth at each other, just complaining about whatever. Conflicts will arise. Like, you're dealing with dozens of people, staff and residents. Like, people are just not going to get along. It's going to happen. So how are you going to handle those conflicts, and how are you going to address them, and allow you to make some good progress to make sure everybody's comfortable, that things are addressed properly. And especially if you're in a home where you're dealing with multiple different populations, that's something that can very easily come up as you're going through that, just because they have different frustration points. Somebody that needs help buttoning their shirt is super frustrating. You have somebody that has severe arthritis in their hands. They can't move anything, but they've been doing it for 80 years, and now they can't do it. Like, that is frustrating for them, versus somebody that is schizophrenic and they're having an episode, and you're trying to deal with that, and help them calm down and make sure they're taking their medications, and maybe they're scared that everybody's out to get them. These are all things like we have dealt with in our facilities, and how to handle the conflict when it does arise, when people are accusing people of other things, and whatever. You need to have a process in place for how you're going to address those conflicts and how you're going to document them as you get into this. So um, policies and procedures are the lifeblood of your business. They allow you to run the home smoothly. They allow you to keep your license. They allow you to avoid liability because you have policies and procedures in place. And then once you have those, you have to adhere to them and make sure you're doing the things that you need to do to follow those. It doesn't matter which population you're working with. You're going to have that. You want to have it kind of specific to the population you want to be working with. It's always helpful to do that, and don't just buy something or build something that is just very expansive and applicable to everything. You want something that's very specific to your facility and the situation, the population you're going to be dealing with, and that you, I'm getting calls up the wazoo here. Let's see. that was from Washington State. That's why the reference. Anyways, um, let's see. The more that you do that, you're going to just be a lot more successful as you go through this. So with that, I would love to help you out as you're trying to make some progress in launching your assisted living business. You can check out the accelerator course. It's my 5-phase process that helps you through that, which is building a foundation, finding the right home, getting the funding that you need, getting the policies and procedures, and understanding the regulations, and launching and scaling your business. And here in this video, we have talked about 4 of those 5 at certain points throughout the process, and how you're going to move this forward and launching your assisted living business. So check that out. Again, it's assistedlivinginvesting.net/ALA for the accelerator course. So with that, let's get over to questions. So those of you that are here live, thank you so much. For those of you that are watching after the fact, go ahead and type your questions in down below, and we'll get to those at some point in the future. I want to also remind you to like the video, subscribe, and ring the bell as well, so you get notified every time we put out content like this. We go live on Tuesdays, we put out content on Thursdays, and every now and then I'm throwing in extra pieces of content as well to help you out. And make sure you go grab the business plan checklist. Again, it's assistedlivinginvesting.net/BP checklist to help you go out and get things started there. So with that, let me shift over to this other screen. And let's go ahead and throw up some of our questions here. So Easy or newbie in Texas, thank you for watching. And you put in intellectual disabilities as well. So I think that's awesome. It's such a rewarding population to work with. My aunt and uncle, they foster individuals with intellectual disabilities, and it is like they've been doing it since I was probably in high school, maybe a little bit after that. It's probably been close to 20 years. And they now just like become part of the family, and they come to family events, and we get to see them, and there's like some of my favorite people. So they're not always easy to deal with for sure, but I'm getting emotional thinking about it because I love them. They're some of my favorite people, and you serving that population is very much needed, and I think can allow you to be successful as well. Like you can serve this population, do a lot of good for them, but also do well for yourself. Let's see. You've got a question here. My eyes are a little watery, so a little sorry about that. Was not expecting that. Okay, so easy. Let's say it right. In Texas, you want to open a HCS group home for intellectual disabilities individuals. It seems like their requirement is very high. Yeah, so you're going to see this. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're working here in the healthcare. In the healthcare world, there's a lot of regulations, regardless of what you do, and it doesn't matter. There's just going to be a lot of regulations. What is key is understanding what those regulations are and how to navigate them, and help you and make continual progress. The right people to talk to, how to talk to them, is just as important as knowing who to talk to, how to have the right conversations, and really move things along so you can get to that place. So a lot of what you're probably doing right now is a lot of information gathering and trying to understand exactly what this is going to look like, and hopefully building relationships with people at the state to help you know how to get this thing set up the way that you want. You're going to hit barriers as you go along the process. What you have to remember is, I say this at the end of all my videos, you have to just keep going step by step by step. And if you do that, I promise you're going to be successful. You can't hit a roadblock and be like, oh man, you know what? I can't figure out financing. This is like, never mind. This isn't going to work. If you're really passionate about doing this, then you have to be resilient. Like I have been told no by dozens of lenders, like literally dozens of lenders. I have been told, nope, there's no way, it's impossible. Like nobody's going to fund you. I have been told that by lenders. I still have secured $1.5 million in SBA funding. I've been told by people grants don't exist for assisted living. I've secured $1.2 million in grants. Like you can do these things. Now it's hard, and it's resilience, and it's trying to go through things, and you're going to deal with things. Once you get it going, you're still going to deal with a bunch of stuff. Like, it's not easy. This isn't something that's like for the faint of heart. This is very different from traditional assisted living or traditional real estate investment. It's a business. There's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of regulations. And so you have to be aware of that, especially if you're doing this on a small scale, you're doing something tiny. But if you are consistent and you have this dream and this vision for where you want to go, you can do it. You can be successful. It's just kind of working your way through that. Um, Next thing here from you, easy. Am I able to help you opening a home and community service group in Texas? Yeah. So my program, the accelerator that I was just talking about, I'll go back one screen over here so you have the link there. But that process, my 5-phase process, is applicable nationwide. So it helps you through that. And then if you want some help and some guidance, my mastermind program is a great way for you to do that. So you can apply to that. It's an application process at alimastermind.com. I'll put it here in the comments for you, mastermind.com. So it's an application process. And the reason why, and it's 4 questions, like, it's not long, but it lets me see where you're at and what your goals are. I just want to make sure that my program can really align with you. And so if it is, after I get the application, I'll send you all the details for the program, the price and everything. It's very manageable compared to other courses and programs that offer you a similar thing. I'm very affordable in the way that I work there. So I'm happy to answer questions if you want to go and apply to that. Apparently it went in here twice. I'm not sure why. That's fine. But yes, short answer to that is yes, I can help you out through the process. The long answer is I have worked with a few people in Texas, but this specific thing I haven't done before. That doesn't mean I can't help you figure it out, because I can. But it's just something to be aware of. Like, I'm not going to have all of the answers day one. This is how you do it. We'll explore it together. I'll help you navigate it. I'm not going to do the work for you. I will make sure that you know what to do, though. Because there's going to be a lot of verbiage out there that you're just like, I don't know what this department is, what it does. I don't know what this acronym means. I don't understand this paperwork or these fees or all of those, how to have this conversation. Like, you're probably going to run into things like that you don't know. And while I've not done this specific thing in Texas, I know how to have those conversations. So I can definitely coach you out with that. Okay. So hopefully that helps. Would love to have you apply to the program and see if it's a good fit for you or not. There's no obligation if you apply. It's totally up to you. All right. So I think we're gonna close out. I want to thank everybody for watching. I really appreciate it when people jump on here and or spend some time with me in the afternoons so I can answer your questions and help you along your path to launching your assisted living business. I want to remind you to go grab the free business plan checklist at assistedlivinginvesting.net /BP checklist. Does residential assisted living sound interesting to you, but you don't know how to get started? At Assisted Living Investing, I'm here to help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in the next 12 months. I love helping and coaching people. It's one of the things that, like, I love it. It's so much fun for me. I would love to help you along your journey and help you make some progress. And I want to remind you that it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. Just keep going step by step by step. And I promise you, if you do and you're consistent and persistent, you're going to be successful. Thanks for watching and have a great day.